Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a Nobel Prize-winning AI called AlphaFold. Now, this tool has kicked off one of the biggest revolutions in medicine, but the story of how it's actually being used by scientists, well, it's a lot more complicated than you might think. So, to really get why this AI is such a big deal, we have to start small. I mean, microscopic. We've got to talk about the tiny little machines that are right this second running your entire body. We're talking about trillions of biological robots, and every single one has a very specific job to do. And they're called proteins. They do pretty much everything. They carry oxygen, they fight off diseases, they build your tissues. But here's the part you absolutely have to remember. A protein's job is completely defined by its incredibly complex 3D shape. Think of it like biological origami. If the fold is even slightly off, the machine just doesn't work. Period. And that leads us to a massive problem, a grand challenge that had scientists stumped for half a century. How in the world do you predict a protein's final, super intricate 3D shape just by looking at its genetic code? This was famously known as the protein folding problem. And honestly, it was a huge bottleneck for all of medicine. Trying to figure out these structures in a lab was just painfully slow, incredibly expensive, and sometimes it was literally impossible. And this wasn't some abstract problem. It directly slowed down how we develop new drugs. I mean, look, the process to get a new medicine to you already takes, on average, 12 to 15 years. The protein folding problem just made that long, expensive journey even harder. But then, in 2020, a team at Google's DeepMind made an announcement that changed everything. They basically said that this 50-year-old grand challenge was solved. They built an AI, and they called it AlphaFold. Put simply, you feed it a protein's genetic sequence. The AI then churns through massive databases of known proteins, looking for patterns and clues. And using everything it learns, its neural network makes an incredibly educated guess about the protein's final 3D shape. And it does it with, well, just astonishing accuracy. And let me be clear, this wasn't just some small step forward. This was a giant leap. The achievement was so profound that its leaders were awarded the 2024 Nobel Prize in Chemistry. That's the entire scientific community basically sending a signal to the world saying, yep, this changes things. And its impact wasn't theoretical, it was felt almost immediately. During the COVID-19 pandemic, it helped speed up vaccine development by rapidly predicting the structure of the virus's spike protein. It's also been used to hunt for new antibiotics, and it's powered this huge open-source database of protein structures that is now available to any scientist anywhere. The headlines, as you can imagine, were incredible. You'd think we'd found a crystal ball for biology, but is it really that simple? Well, the reality for the scientists actually working in the labs, it's a bit more complicated. Okay, let's get into this, because this is where the story gets really interesting. We have to draw a line between the media headlines and what's actually going on in the lab day to day. So on the one hand, the academic world is in agreement, and they're right to be. This review in Atomic Academia calls it a revolutionary tool that has transformed research, and that is 100% true. No one's debating that. But then, you hear from the scientists who are in the trenches, using it every day. This researcher on Reddit points out that the predictions can be wrong or misleading, or, and this is the really critical part, they can lack cellular context. You see, biology doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens inside a messy, crowded, living cell, and that context is everything. So this is the crucial thing to understand. The hype might make it sound like an infallible oracle that completely replaces lab work. The reality? It's more like a brilliant, powerful, but flawed assistant. It doesn't replace experiments. It supercharges them by telling scientists exactly where to focus their efforts. So what are these limitations? Well, for one, AlphaFold is amazing at predicting a single static shape. But proteins aren't static. They're constantly moving, flexing, and changing. That's called dynamics, and the AI just isn't great at that yet. It also has a tough time with proteins that are naturally floppy, or what scientists call disordered. And it can't tell us how lots of different proteins come together to form larger biological machines. So at the end of the day, every single prediction it makes still has to be confirmed by a real-world experiment. And all of this brings us to what might be the most important takeaway of all. AlphaFold isn't making human scientists obsolete. Not at all. It's creating a brand new kind of scientific partnership, one that could totally redefine the pace of discovery itself. So, what does this new partnership actually look like in practice, and how is it going to lead us to a whole new era of medicine? Well, instead of replacing lab work, AlphaFold just makes it way, way smarter. Before, scientists might have had to test hundreds of ideas almost blindly. Now the AI can spit out thousands of potential protein structures practically overnight. The human scientists can then use their expertise to look at those and say, okay, these 5 look the most promising. Let's test those in the lab. It's a massive shift. It's like going from searching for a needle in a haystack to having someone just point you to the right corner of the barn. And this quote from that same researcher on Reddit just nails the real revolution here. The future isn't about AI solving things on its own. It's about a future where human experiments and AI computation co-enable each other. They make each other better. This new partnership is poised to accelerate just about everything, from developing personalized cancer treatments to getting us ready for the next pandemic. So no, AlphaFold isn't the final answer, but it might just be the beginning of a completely new kind of science, one where human intuition and artificial intelligence finally work together to decode the secrets of the human body.